Hi, John. How are you?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Um, so thank you for talking to us today. Oh, to me, there's no us here.
You can
Uh,
use the royal
the
we.
royal us. Um, so I'm so excited. You guys played such a huge part of the 90s for me after Flood was released. Um, I had I actually found your Flood CD in a secondhand shop and I picked it up and thought, this looks interesting. And I took it home
Mm.
and immediately fell in love.
Oh, that's
And then went and
great.
bought Lincoln. So
Fantastic.
bad luck to the person, I guess, who didn't want it and allowed me to
Yes,
find it.
yes. That's great. That's a lovely story.
Yeah. So Flood is 34 years old. So it sort of gives you a bit of an indication of how old I am as well. Um,
Mm.
I find it incredibly ageless. It could fit into any time and space. I would even say, if you dropped it into the 1960s, people would find it weird, but there would be a whole group of people who would love that.
Yeah, I think we were never exactly uh completely in sync with the times, and we still aren't. We just have
Yeah.
never been. We've never really tracked what was contemporary. And I think that was a kind of a choice that we made. We were in other bands before we started this project, where I think there was more of a sense of doing something zeitgeisty, something that felt like uh, it was in some way answering the current cultural climate. And then with They Might Be Giants, I think we kind of felt like, well, what would we like? What kind of albums would we like to buy? What kind of concerts would we like to see? And that was mostly what drove our choices for beginning with They Might Be Giants.
Yeah. I did read a quote from an interview that you guys did, and it's so long ago in 1990, where you said that it is a requirement, or one of you said that it's a requirement that recorded music withstand repeated listens without losing value. And I,
Okay.
and yeah, I know it's like I came across that quote. I thought that's a great quote. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that you
It sounds
guys,
a little corporate, but yeah,
it
okay.
does a little
I'll
bit.
take it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's what you guys have done. Oh, there's something ringing.
Mhm.
Hang on. Stop that. Um, I think you guys have done that. And I think a lot of the themes from Flood are very on point for today as well.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously taking aside from the fact that there is some rather obscure stuff going in on there, you've got minimum wage. And even if you don't take away the fact that it's not especially about minimum wage, you could have that bent to the fact that minimum wage is such a huge topic these days.
Well,
Um,
yeah, yeah, no, I mean that song is about nothing other than minimum wage,
yeah,
actually. That's the only lyrics plus
yeah,
the whip crack.
yes,
So yeah, I think that's fine. In fact, that's one of the rare songs where you can actually really say what that song is about of ours.
yeah,
Um,
and
so
then
yeah,
you,
I will take it.
yeah, and then you've got my racist friend.
Hmm.
Um, I came from a place where race was quite divisive, and I do remember having friends singing that to other people who may have said inappropriate things back in the day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's probably, calling out your friends, I think has become a big thing these days. Don't let your friends get away with crap, you know,
Sure.
yeah, crap
Yep.
behavior. So how do you think that slots into that sort of?
I should tell you, I think when that song was written by John Flansburgh,
Yep,
and I think at the time, having grown up in a very liberal community
yeah,
in Massachusetts, um, and then, having moved to New York,
mm-hmm,
um, I have to say I was not under the impression that race hatred or or prejudice was it seemed like such a thing of the past at that time, when John wrote the song, which was in the late 80s. And I'm embarrassed to say now, like, I kind of felt like, well, is this really you know, are we sort of virtue signaling? I hate that
Yeah.
expression, but
Yeah.
it kind of felt a little bit like everybody who we know is already on this, on the
Yeah.
kind of, we're all brothers and sisters here and everything. And what's emerged since then is that it turns out I was completely wrong, and that in the last couple decades, we've really seen a crazy resurgence
Yes.
in not just racism, but just sort of xenophobia, nationalism, all these things that I mean, I was very naive, but I kind of thought, oh yeah, we've moved away from all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really is it's surprising and sobering to think that we could have backslid on the whole world in a way is becoming more distrustful of one another, and it's yeah, a disturbing trend.
It is. It really is. Um, I'm just like really want to talk to you about the writing process that you and John have together. Um, just bear with me. There is a helicopter going over and it's buzzing my house right now.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'm in Edinburgh right now in
Yeah,
Scotland,
right.
and we are by the shore, and I've had to shut the window because the racket from the seagulls has
And
been
they're
so
enormous, aren't
loud.
they?
They're like screaming at one another
Yeah.
continuously. I think they've settled down now, but it was really unbelievable.
Somebody had chips out there.
Must have, yeah.
They love a chip.
Yep.
So yeah, so the writing process. So is it sort of a jam process for you guys, or does it sort of germinate separately and then you come together and handball things
Yes.
to each other?
Yes, the second one.
Yeah.
I think John and I probably are in full agreement that we are not people who kind of generally, I mean, we try out all sorts of different techniques for writing songs, but we do not really jam.
Yep.
That's outside of our vocabulary, I would
Yep.
say. And in fact, we both like to sort of sit and fiddle around,
Yep.
try out all sorts of things privately. And as you said, we come together and share these ideas. But it's a weirdly contemplative process rather than a jamming
Yep.
process. We do have this band of incredibly talented musicians, and once we've sort of come up with a song structure or song idea, the song doesn't have to be completely finished, but we'll come into the studio with these guys, and then they grab the ball and run with it. And I have to say, we're really lucky in the
Yep.
musicians that we work with, that they know how to do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then of course we can't go past the lyrical process. So one of the things that I do like is the fact that your lyrics are very thought-provoking, and you can never just listen to They Might Be Giants song and go, I get that. You kind of have to have a second listen, maybe a third, and keep listening. And I find every time I listen to one of your albums, I get something new from it every single time.
That's great.
So
It's really
yeah,
good.
so you know, I guess, is it topical at the time? So do you grab topics at the time, or is it more something that you guys go, this is what's in my head right now, that's what's coming out?
I think that it's as I said, it's a sort of contemplative process, and I think we often don't really know what we're doing in the moment. Speaking for myself, I would say I sometimes have a sort of a vague idea and put a few things down, and then certain things spark, they inspire sort of further ideas, but
Mhm.
it's it's like wandering around kind of at randomly initially,
Mhm.
and then things sort of coalesce, and hopefully, ideally, it all seems interesting and inspiring. And
Mhm.
occasionally, I mean, there are some occasions where the ideas sort of die on the vine, or you
Yep.
think, oh, this isn't going anywhere. Um, I think that we don't even necessarily explain to ourselves what we're doing right away. Um, I mean, I should say almost always it's the case that
Mm.
it's not clear what, I mean, there's occasionally there's a song that begins with the topic, begins with
Yep.
either the chorus or the title,
Mhm.
and then the rest of it follows logically
Yep.
from that. Um, but there's always surprises, and ideally there are, twists and turns, like you're saying,
Mm.
that it doesn't all seem completely obvious at first, that there might be some ideas that are kind of subtle surprises that come
Yep.
up in the course of writing. So yeah, I mean, that's idea. Those are the songs I like, are the
Yeah.
ones that don't that don't seem completely obvious and don't reveal themselves in their entirety right away.
Mhm.
Um, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. How much of your writing style is the love of wordplay? Because you guys do a lot of wordplay.
Yeah, I think there are times when we need to rein it in a little bit,
Mhm.
because you can get carried away, and it starts to feel like that's the point of it, that it's just about wordplay, and I
Mhm.
I feel like there should be more going on than just
Yep.
cleverness, right?
Yep.
I think that there's a there should be a good idea in there, that's just not just about I think
Being
we
too
were John
clever.
and I were caught up in like the lyrics of Elvis Costello and people like that
Mhm.
early on, and we kind of thought, oh yeah, this is really fun because he's doing all these complicated games with words,
Yep.
and it seemed very engaging. And then I think at a certain point you realize, like, oh yeah, you can just say something explicit and plain, and that's very
Mhm.
powerful. And
Yep.
it doesn't have to have any double meaning
Yep.
whatsoever. You can just state something baldly, and that's a very strong way to work to as
Yep.
well.
Um, you and John Flansburgh met in high school. That is one, you guys have had one epic um writing partnership. Um,
Sure.
what makes it work?
Well, we tried not to step on each other's toes. I think
Mhm.
with a lot of mutual respect,
Yep.
and that is, I think we're very aware, and we have been for most of the time we've been working together, that this is a valuable thing for us, that we don't want to screw it up
Mhm.
by having petty arguments, or letting our egos
Mhm.
get in the way of the project. So yeah, we and also we were lucky because we uh, mostly agreed on all sorts of things, the process and
Mhm.
the open-endedness of it, um, and the way that we try and keep it interesting and surprising. We tend to each think of the other person when we're doing the creative work. So
Mhm.
I often think when I'm writing, well, this is a good idea, but what is John Flansburgh going to think? You know, and I think he has the same feeling about it, that
Mhm.
it has to pass muster, uh, first of all with both of us, and then we have to feel like, oh, this is something we could present to the world.
Yeah. So yeah, so that you very concisely answered what I wanted there. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, and I was so upset because I was in Australia because it would have cost us a fortune to ring, is the dialer song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So this came from a little bit of necessity. You got injured, John got burgled, and I assume you lost a whole pile of equipment in the or instruments in the thing. So you decided to put stuff on an answering machine and
Yes.
promote the thing. Um,
Yes.
you've had fans absolutely loved it. I remember, I think I saw it in a magazine somewhere in the maybe the 90s when it was still sort of running about. And
Okay.
I really, really wanted to call it, but I was just like, my parents will kill me because, as you know, an international call back then was,
Yep.
worth a king's
Sure.
ransom. Do
Yeah.
you think in another time you, like, say, for example, if you were starting off now and you had the same situation, do you think you would do it that way again? Or do you think
Oh,
you would probably jump on social media?
yeah. Well, obviously the technology is
Hmm.
completely different now from what it was then. And in some ways, what we were doing was sort of anticipating this
Hmm.
new, that well, now very well established world that we
Hmm.
live in, which is um, that people can have a direct line on someone
Hmm.
else's personal project. Um, uh, you know, people, and the other thing is people use their phones to listen to music, which
Hmm.
was a weird idea in 1983, but
Yes.
is now completely normal.
Hmm.
So I really don't know how we would be addressing all those kinds of concerns. If we were starting now, we've had people ask, what kind of advice do you give to bands that are starting on? I really don't know. I think it's a whole new set of problems. And luckily for me and John, um, we're not trying to start up,
No.
this
Mm.
project. So we have a kind of an established brand and
Hmm.
a very, very loyal, we're incredibly lucky to have this very loyal following
Hmm.
uh, that we've had for a long time. So I know there are all sorts of ways that you can get your
Hmm.
thing out there, but my sense is that it's not any easier now than it was then, and
Mm.
it's just different, and there always has to be some kind of promotional machinery.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk about the internet democratizing music, but I think unfortunately I think you still need a powerful way of promoting yourself that doesn't just automatically happen when you
Hmm.
upload your songs online. I mean, occasionally it does. Things do go viral,
Yeah.
but that can't be the way that it works for most people. It's it's a whole different ballgame.
Hmm.
And I should say, it wasn't obvious to us how to push our boat out when we started. I think we were very lucky. There were a lot of circumstances that were just incredibly lucky for us. One was the advent of MTV
Yeah.
that we somehow climbed aboard, even though we felt like we were imposters
Mm.
in that situation. And then yeah, there was a lot of other lucky breaks, um, which we couldn't have necessarily planned out.
Yeah. So I want to move on to book because book is the latest one, which will hear some new stuff from that I assume in your ever fluid set that you play.
Yes.
Um, so I was actually really, really stoked to realize because I've only listened it on streaming. Just
Hmm.
because if as in the industry that I'm in, if I keep collecting music, I will have nowhere to live. My
Right.
music collection will have to live in the house and I'll have to find somewhere else.
Sure.
I was really stoked to see that vinyl, cassette, and 8-track, which 8-track is pretty niche these days.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah.
Um, what was the decision behind the different formats? Just something different or?
Well, we've been promoting vinyl for a long time. John
Mhm.
Flansburgh is a very earnest and adamant
Mhm.
promoter of vinyl and collector of vinyl. So I think that part of the idea also with book was to make an object that people would a physical object that people
Yep.
would want, um, it was, it's a book of photographs, but it's the
Hmm.
size, the dimensions of an LP. It's
Yep.
12,
Which is
12,
stuff that
12 by
I
12
love.
inches. Yeah. So a vinyl disc will fit inside,
Hmm.
but you can also get it with a CD,
Hmm.
and it's a nice object for your coffee table. I mean,
Yes.
I think it was partly this idea of like uh feeling like there's something ephemeral about
Hmm.
a lot of the way people put out music nowadays, that it would be nice to have something tactile, and also has this amazing visual
Hmm.
component of these beautiful photographs.
I'm actually very proud to say that I actually have Lincoln on vinyl.
All right. Very
Yeah,
good.
it's my it's my favorite album of you guys. I love
Oh,
Flood, but
that's nice. Yeah.
I will put Lincoln on, given the choice every time. I just love it.
Great. Thank you.
Um, so let's move on to tour. You're out here next month?
Correct.
Yes. Um, Australia absolutely adores you guys. You guys sell out. Um, I went to, I can't remember what was the last time you were here or the heat time before. And I just remember everybody in the crowd knowing the words, singing along, and just having the best time.
Uh-huh.
Is that something that you guys, if that keeps driving you on to keep, the set fresh, and okay, we're going to play a different set to Melbourne, be so that they're all sitting looking at the set list, so that we can keep surprising them. And
Well, we I guess we're aware that there are different people.
Mhm.
There's different kinds of audience members. It's really obvious to us that the front row are there for some kind of very special and
Mhm.
intimate experience, and that they don't want to just hear us playing all the singles.
Yep.
So we do include a lot of material for those people, the first
Mhm.
couple rows of people who like all our deep catalog.
Yep.
So we're doing that, and as you said, we're promoting our most recent album, which is now I think several years old now. I
3
can't
years
remember
old.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is still our latest album.
Mhm.
We're doing that. We're also doing the album Flood as a
Mhm.
special anniversary. It was originally an anniversary show, and that again, because of all the postponed
Yep.
shows, that anniversary is several years ago, but
Yep.
we're approaching the next anniversary of it, I guess,
Yep.
of 35 years since Flood came out. So we're doing those things. We're doing deep catalog. We're doing the hits,
Yep.
as such as they are, and we're doing we're promoting stuff. So it's a whole range, and of course the show is long enough that we can do each one
Yes.
of those things.
Yeah. And that's great. Thank you for talking to us today. I'm out of questions now, John. Um,
It's been a pleasure, Beck. Nice speaking with
yeah.
you. I guess we had a little mix up yesterday where
Yes, we did.
I was told that I was supposed to call
Another
you then, but
John.
I'm glad we
Another John told you that I was doing it yesterday, and
yeah
and I was like, hang on a second.
yeah
I
yeah.
was at work.
Anyway, it's
But we
fine.
did it now.
Glad yeah, I'm glad we got to talk.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you.
Me too. Looking
Yeah.
forward to coming. All
Yeah.
right, great.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
See you.
Okay,
Bye
bye bye.
bye.